What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome on into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, running through all of Denver's free agents for 2024, and I'm going to tell you guys who I think the Broncos are going to bring back and who they're going to let walk. So let's jump into it, starting with linebacker Josey Jewell. So the multi-year starter for the Broncos is a free agent this March, and my initial gut reaction is I think they let Jewell walk. I could see an avenue where Josey Jewell returns, but just my gut says they are going to go a different direction. They drafted his replacement last year, and I think they are ready to kind of kickstart that new movement at the linebacker position. But if they do let Jewell come back, I don't think that'd be a bad move, right? He had 108 tackles last year, 2 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Jewell has played good football. This is not a, hey, Josey Jewell is washed. You got to go move on from him. No, but I could see a spot where maybe Josey Jewell tests the free agent market. He gets some offers, but if he prefers to stay in Denver, he goes back to Sean Payton and goes, listen, this is what I'm being offered. Can you guys match that? And if Sean and George go, oh, yeah, we can definitely match that. We were worried you might get too much money on the open market, and then we would not be able to play ball after paying Alex Singleton last offseason. Now, speaking of Alex Singleton, he is at Super Bowl Media Row right now, and we've got a Chat Sports contingent over in Las Vegas, and one of them is Jeremy Beadling, and he was able to talk to Alex Singleton about Josey Jewell and his upcoming free agency, and here's what Singleton had to say.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, it's what I've always, I've seen. I know it's been, one of the longest roads you can take, but it's nice. I enjoy, this first offseason. I'm not worried about where I'm going to be the next year, so that's nice. But yeah, hopefully Josey's back. We need him back. It's really easy playing next to him, so to have that guy, it's easier. But like I said, I'm bugging him every day to see, but, if he happened to go somewhere else, it's my friend first, so, I'd be happy with whatever decision he makes.
So, first off, thank you to Alex Singleton for catching up with Jeremy Beadling at Chat Sports, from Chat Sports, but I think Singleton would love to have Jewell back, as he indicated, because the two are friends and they play well together, but like Singleton acknowledged, this is a business, and Drew Sanders was drafted last year early in day 2, and I think that was for a very specific reason, which was they re-signed Alex Singleton to a nice 3-year contract. Jewell was heading into the last year of his deal. They were ready to make Drew Sanders an inside linebacker, and to me, the writing's on the wall that Drew Sanders is going to take over as the team's starting inside linebacker. But if the Broncos were not very encouraged by what they saw out of Sanders in practice all last year, and Jewell does not get a crazy offer in free agency, there could be a path for 47 coming back to Mile High. But let me know, should Denver re-sign Josey Jewell? I want your opinion down below in the comment section. I know this might not seem like a major signing or not signing, but ultimately the middle of the defense is a very important role. So what do you think? Should the Broncos re-sign Josey Jewell? Let's move on to their next free agent, which is center Lloyd Cushenberry. So Cushenberry has had a very interesting career in Denver, and I don't think Denver will get into a bidding war for Lloyd Cushenberry, right? Sean Payton liked Cushenberry. I remember when he became the head coach, one of the first players he talked about was Cush and how encouraged he is by the things he's seen on film about him, despite the previous regime more or less benching him for the last third of the 2022 season. However, Lloyd Cushenberry is the only free agent member on this offensive line, and when you look at the backups, you've got Alex Forsythe and Luke Wattenberg, 2 players that were day 3 picks the last 2 drafts on the interior offensive line. I think Denver is ready to hand the keys over to. Now, Cush does come off the best year of his NFL career. Pro Football Focus ranked him 10th out of 36 qualifying centers. I mean, the year before that, 32nd. His sophomore year, 21st. His rookie season, dead last, 36 out of 36. So Cushenberry definitely chose a good time to have a career year in a lot of ways, right before he hits the open market. And maybe a team out there will overpay a little bit, but that team's not going to be the Broncos, right? I'm okay with letting Cush walk. We just saw 4 seasons of Lloyd Cushenberry. 3 were bad, 1 was good. Maybe there's a chance that that 1 being good is not the outlier, but I'm not willing to stake know, a 3-year, $25-30 million contract on that. And I think that's what Cushenberry could get on the open market. Now, I'm not super fired up about Alex Forsyth just walking into the starting center role after being a backup all year and was a 7th-round pick out of Oregon last year, but this is the path that Denver chose. When George Payton spoke to the media almost a month ago, he called out a couple of rookies by name as guys they see as starters, and one of them was Alex Forsyth. So unless Cushenberry comes back with a very low offer from another team, I don't think Denver is going to extend a generous offer to him. Now, in case you're wondering about a franchise tag, that is not happening. Unfortunately for offensive linemen, the franchise tag applies to all positions. So tackles are paid much more than guards and centers. So that means they kind of inflate the franchise tag value, which is projected to be $19.9 million. Denver's not paying nearly $20 million for 1 year of Lloyd Cushenberry services. All right, we have more free agents to get to in just a moment, but first, a quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is Prize Picks. We got the big game coming up this weekend in Las Vegas, and if you want to have some extra fun while you're watching this game, get started with Prize Picks today. It's the last game of the 2023 season, and all you do is pick 2 to 6 players and choose more or less on their projected stats. If that's not simple enough for you, let me give you an example. I like the more on Patrick Mahomes at half a passing yards. That's right. Prize Picks is giving Broncos country 0.5 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes. Take the more. And then just pick one more, and you have satisfied picking 2 to 6 players, and you are halfway home. I like the more on Isaiah Pacheco at half a rushing and receiving touchdown combined. And I also like the more for Brock Purdy at 248.5 passing yards. So if you like my selections, feel free to ride with me at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video because I love you guys so much. So make sure you scroll on down and click that today. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Free agent number 3, Adam Trautman. So the guy that the Broncos traded for during last year's draft, the tight end out of Dayton who went to the Saints and, like several other players and coaches, eventually made his way northwest to Denver. Adam Trautman was the starting tight end last year after, Greg Dulcich, I just don't even think he had the job really to begin camp. And then, of course, he got injured, and we saw very, very little of the flow. Chris Manhertz was an average-ish blocking tight end. Lucas Kroll, I thought, played very well at stretches last year. Didn't see a whole lot of Nate Atkins, the UDFA out of South Carolina. But Adam Trautman led the way for the tight end group, and he didn't lead it very far. 22 grabs, 204 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had some nice plays. I'm not going to discredit him that, but ultimately, Denver did not get much oomph from their tight end room. However, I could see Denver re-signing Trautman because if you don't re-sign Trautman, do you really trust Greg Dulcich to play even 8 games next year? Chris Manhertz is not a receiving tight end. Maybe Lucas Kroll could step into a bigger role, but if you let Trautman leave in free agency, you're just adding one more hole to fill. And I don't think Denver's in a spot where they can do that. It's not like they have 9 to 10 draft picks so they can afford to use some extra picks at spots that are lower priority. And it's also not like Adam Trautman's going to get the bag in free agency from another team. So I'm sure he would love to stay with Coach Payton and stay in Denver. And I'm sure he'll take whatever offer the Broncos give because he's probably not going to get a much bigger or generous offer elsewhere. Moving on to free agent number 4, Fabian Moreau. The veteran corner who joined midway through training camp. Does that sound right to you guys? And then took over from Damari Mathis as this team's CB2 because Damari Mathis simply became unplayable. When you look at Denver's cornerback room, they've got Pat Surtain. They've got an incredible slot corner in Jaquan McMillan, but they've got a hole to fill opposite of PS2 because Fabian Moreau, the veteran, is going to be a free agent. And I thought he played very well this past season. I mean, very well, maybe a bit of a stretch, but I thought he played well. How about that? I think we can all agree. 46 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 7 pass breakups, 1 interception. This was a short-term, hey, we're in a pinch. We can't play Damari Mathis. We thought he'd be ready in his sophomore year. That's not going to happen. Can you step in and start the rest of the season for us? And Moreau did a good job of that, but I don't think he left anyone wanting more for 2024. So ultimately, I think we're going to see Riley Moss, right? Again, I go back to what George Payton said at his end of the year press conference, which was we believe Alex Forsythe and Riley Moss and Marvin Mims, these are starting caliber players in the National Football League. Now, where was Riley Moss when Damari Mathis got benched? I mean, he wasn't able to take the field. So how bad was Riley Moss in practice where Denver decided, yeah, we can't play Damari Mathis, but we also can't play Riley Moss. So let's roll with the veteran Fabian Moreau to at least, avoid us from completely sinking after the Dolphins game. And Riley Moss, we'll see what he looks like going into 2024 in a few short months. But for now, I think it's going to be him, Mathis, and maybe a rookie as competition for that CB2 job with an additional low-level cheap free agent signing, which could be Moreau, but I'm not very optimistic about that. Now, what's your confidence level in the second-year guys stepping up? Alex Forsythe, Riley Moss, Marvin Mims. I mean, there's a very real chance that Marvin Mims could take over from Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. Riley Moss takes over from Moreau. Alex Forsythe takes over from Lloyd Cushenberry. All three of those guys, Drew Sanders takes over from Josey Jewell. Four of those guys go from being bench players primarily in their rookie year, which, hey, that's the case for most rookies. I'm not just going to poo-poo them for that. But to go all the way from seeing very few snaps to starting roles in year two, what's your confidence level? Scale it 1 to 10. Moving on to free agent number 5, PJ Locke. I thought Locke did a tremendous job last year filling in for Kareem Jackson during his on and off suspensions throughout the season. But now PJ Locke hits free agency, and Denver's got a potential problem at safety. I'm going to say potential because Justin Simmons is under contract, and if they hold on to number 31, then whoever starts alongside Simmons, you know that number 31 is going to be able to keep them above water, right? They could toss in Caden Stearns. They could toss in J.L. Skinner maybe. Please no De'Aaron Turner-Yell. But PJ Locke, I thought, did a very good job when called upon in 2023. He had 53 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups, 1 interception. Didn't he also have a forced fumble in the Bills game? Everyone had a forced fumble in the Bills game. So I ultimately think Denver will re-sign PJ Locke. I don't think this is a player that's going to get a huge amount of money in free agency from another team. So hopefully the Broncos can find a way to bring back PJ Locke on like a 2-year, $5 million contract. I don't think he has shown us enough to really back up any truck, but hey, a 2-year, $5 million contract, that sounds game to me. Now let's just run through the other free agents the Broncos have. So Michael Burton, the fullback, Quinn Bailey and Cam Fleming on the offensive line, Jonathan Harris and Mike Purcell on the defensive line, Jonas Griffith and Justin Strnad at the linebacker position, and K'Wan Williams at corner. And then you got the kicker, Wil Lutz. So of those 9 remaining free agents, here are the 5 guys I would like to see Denver re-sign. I thought Michael Burton did a pretty good job playing fullback this past year, and if Sean Payton wants to continue to run the ball, which I don't think he's going to call on Jarrett Stidham or a rookie quarterback to throw it 500 times next year, maybe invest in your ground game with Michael Burton. Quinn Bailey and Cam Fleming, I'm on board with bringing them back. I don't think either player, when called upon last year, was a disaster on the field, so I can play ball, especially with knowing the fact that they're not going to get a huge amount of money in free agency. Jonas Griffith, I want to see him come back because who remembers the Jonas Griffith hype train to end the 2021 season going into 2022? I swear, there were people in Broncos country, and you know who they are. Their neighbors, their friends, their family that thought Jonas Griffith was going to be the next Brandon Marshall linebacker guy. And then you got Wil Lutz, who I think did a pretty good job this past year. So yeah, why not keep some consistency at the special teams? Finally, 4 players I would let walk. Justin Strnad, both defensive tackles. They are old and they're just not very good anymore. And then K'Wan Williams, unfortunately, he missed the entire 2023 season with that ankle injury he suffered during camp. And we're like, okay, you'll be back soon. And then Jaquan McMillan started balling out, and they're like, we actually don't need your help anymore, so just take the rest of the year off. So I could see Denver letting all 4 of these players walk. But who do you want the Broncos to re-sign? Get in the comment section right now to wrap up the video, and let me know who you would like to see George and Sean Payton bring back for another year in 2024.